What does bravery look like to you? Does it look like daring acts of courage, or maybe just small steps outside of your comfort zone? Everyone has their own definition of bravery, their own unique challenges, and their own personal fears. And while these fears can be scary, sometimes terrifying, they're not always bad. Our fears can show us what is important, and we might just find that if we lean into these fears, we can discover our own kind of brave, as our guest today will show us. Today's guest is an incredibly brave solo traveler who pushed past her anxiety to follow her love of travel and lived by herself for 8 months out of her Toyota Tacoma. In this episode, she will share with us what she learned when she decided to push her comfort zones and lean into her fears. You're listening to The Positively Delighted Show, episode number 15. Welcome to The Positively Delighted Show. I'm your host, Kelsey Henry, and in this podcast, we'll be creating a positive mindset through inspirational interviews, music, stories, and exercises for building happy habits. Welcome to The Positively Delighted Show, everyone. I am coming to you from a hotel room in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I am hanging out with my good friend Lindsay Newburn from New Venture Travels, author of 501 Questions, a Travel Game, which is on Amazon, and you should buy it because it's awesome. And you might notice that I have taken a little break from the podcast, unintentionally, the past 2 weeks, as Charlie and I are in the midst of our epic camping adventure. And we've had so many adventures, and we've been having so much fun on this trip, and also pushing a lot of comfort zones and a lot of transitions, and we figured that the transition to being on the road and me living in a car, and she's been in her trailer, so she's got some transition already. I thought I would transition a little bit quicker into living in a car. I'm not really sure why. I guess because I'm just like, well, you're just sleeping in your car. How much transition could there be? But there has been a lot, and Charlie and I actually recorded a podcast episode yesterday about all of the comfort zones we've been pushing and all of the fun things that have happened, all of the scary things that have happened, all of the misadventures and adventures, and it's pretty entertaining. Even had a bit of an exciting event in the midst of the podcast interview. So it'll be a really good episode, and I'll be releasing that soon. And today's episode is super fitting for everything that I've been going through and learning on this trip so far, because today's interview is with my good friend Jaclyn Fischer. I met Jaclyn at the RV Entrepreneur Summit in February this year, and she had come to the summit in her 1999 Toyota Tacoma, which she affectionately called Dwight. And she'd been living in Dwight and traveling all over the country since September the previous year. After I met Jaclyn at the RV Entrepreneur Summit, Mom and I invited her to come stay at our house in Denton, and she was only supposed to stay for a couple of days. And she ended up staying for like half a month because we did not want her to leave. She was just such this amazing energy to have in the house, and we were both like super into goal setting and coming up with big dreams, and we watched The Secret, and we talked about the law of attraction and watched Jack Canfield motivational DVDs, and it was all around good time. So we recorded this interview actually when she was staying with us at the house, and she was in the midst of this trip. And I was just so inspired by the bravery that she showed by going on this trip and figuring things out on her own. And so much in this interview, she expressed that she wanted to travel. She didn't know anything else she wanted to do, but she knew she wanted to travel. And she battled with, was that enough? With our society these days, like you go to school, you get a good job, like you pick a major, you do these things, you pick a career, and that's what you do. But travel never seems to be like a thing, like a career that you can choose. And so she really battled with that, and it was so brave that she knew that that's the only thing that really just lit her soul on fire, and she was brave enough to go after that and go on this trip. And even before setting off on this adventure, Jaclyn had some pretty impressive travel stats, having been to 14 countries around the world, and by the way, she's only 24. And in the short time that I've known Jaclyn, I have been dazzled by her vibrant personality and impressed by her bravery as she chases after her dream of travel. And I wanted to have her on the show today to talk about bravery and what happens when you have the courage to chase your dreams. So I hope you enjoy this interview, and be sure to stay till the end, because this interview was from 6 months ago or so. And so now there are some really cool updates I have on Jaclyn, but I'm going to tell you at the very end after you hear the whole interview. So be sure to stay till the end to hear about what Jaclyn is up to now. So let's get into the interview today with Jaclyn Fischer. So Jaclyn, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. You're gonna make me cry with that introduction.
We'll try not to, but I can't make any promises.
No promises.
No promises. So Jaclyn,
yes,
Dwight, the adventure of Dwight. Is there a name for this trip?
That has been. I haven't been posting a lot of pictures, but whenever I do, the hashtag is the Adventures of Dwight.
I love it. The Adventures of Dwight. Okay, so look for it. The hashtag Adventures of Dwight.
Yeah.
Or is it the Adventures of Dwight?
The Adventures of Dwight.
Hashtag the Adventures of Dwight. So, all right. So I want to get into that. I want to hear more about your journey with Dwight, and how did you get this idea to travel the country in your car?
Yeah. So So a couple years ago, I think we bought Dwight. When we got him, though, he was not named Dwight, but we got him maybe 4 years ago, and then and he was a stick shift, and so it was it was a process trying to learn how to drive him at first, but so we had him for a while, and then finally got the hang of driving him. And then my brother, after we had him for a while, he showed me this article of this guy that had converted the back of his truck, his Toyota Tacoma, to camp out of. So inspirational. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, one day I'm going to do that. I'm going to convert him. Yeah. And then it's going to happen. But ever since I graduated high school, I went to a year of community college, and just, it was decided it was not for me. I was totally unmotivated. But then I just decided that I wanted to travel. And so I guess it was just, this last year, I just really wanted to kind of check out the US and just realize that there's so much to see here at home and in our own backyard, so to speak. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
It's
the time.
Gonna do this. Yeah, and I think that what's so interesting about that too is that a lot of people, maybe they don't like college and they just stick with it anyways because that's just how things are.
Yeah.
So
totally.
What was that process like, kind of going through that in your mind, realizing like this is not for me, and having to make that decision?
Totally. Yeah, so graduating high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and community college was just kind of the cheapest option to kind of get started and get some general credits out of the way, and then just kind of keep building from there. And so, so I decided to start that, but then I think not having like a goal I was working towards or anything I was working for, I was just so unmotivated, and my grades totally plummeted. I was used to working really hard in high school, and then
because you know what you were working for,
right? Exactly, because to graduate high school,
to graduate high school. Okay, but with college, you're like, I have to pick something to graduate,
right? Exactly,
make a big life decision. Then.
Yeah, exactly. And so I super unmotivated, and I was like, why am I here? Why am I investing money into this process if it's not aiding me in any of my passions or what I want to do? And so I got talking to my dad about it, and I was like, Dad, I just know that I want to travel. And both of my parents have been really great about kind of that whole idea of just doing what you love and putting your efforts into that. And so both of them have been really big voices in my head, I think, to encourage me to just take the steps that I need to towards doing what I love. Yeah. Because I think I have the personality where if if I had someone telling me like, you must do this, this, and this, you must follow this certain course of life, I think it would maybe have taken me a little bit longer to get to a place on my own where it's like, okay, no, this is actually what I want to do. And then to go that route. And so I just feel so blessed that my dad was kind of that voice of like, okay, if you want to travel, do that.
Yeah.
And so completed that first year of community college. And then I believe it was that October, the following October, I booked a trip to Italy. And
by yourself?
By myself.
And how old were you? Like 19?
I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was really awesome because my dad had a friend from when they were both seniors in high school.
That's so cool.
Yeah, his name was Federico.
Oh,
doesn't get much more Italian than that.
Italian.
And so we had reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, like she can come. Of course, your daughter can come stay with my family and I, and then so had them kind of as a home base, and then was able to take kind of side trips on my own. But
yeah, so you can work up that courage a little bit at a time.
Right, totally. And then, yeah, and it's so funny because after making that decision to not continue college and just kind of follow my passion, I haven't had any regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's led to just so many other connections and ways to kind of live the life that I am wanting to live, in a life that I'm passionate about. And yeah, instead of kind of being, I don't know, and I feel like it's so different for everyone, but I think just personally, I just would have felt so stagnant and just stuck if I was doing something that I wasn't stoked about or passionate about.
Absolutely. No, I can totally see that.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of a little bit of the process of just making that switch. But yeah, and I mean, still today I'll question, like, should I have gone to college? Should I have done that? And I think especially when all my friends were in school and just like seeing that whole college life, and I was like, am I missing out? I don't know, should I have done this? But I don't know. I haven't had any regrets about it.
Definitely. But I see like this common theme here too, that you're like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to travel. I don't know what I want to study, but I know I want to travel. I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I know I want to travel. Yeah, and it's a lot of times I think people don't see that like travel is the thing. Right. You know, like travel can be so many different things, but you're like, I know I want to be in the travel. And it's not like, oh, I wanted to study hospitality and like study the travel industry. No, I want to be there experiencing these cultures. Yeah. And that was the one thing you're like, okay, I do want to do this. And you found a way to make it happen. You're like, I don't want to wait for it. I want to just go do it. And it's amazing that your parents were so supportive of that.
I truly just feel so blessed by that. I think just like, just having a voice in your life that's like, okay, this is okay. Or this is like this is in you, like you gotta follow that.
And recognizing that, like having someone outside of yourself recognize this is what you want. Yeah. And that is a real thing, not just like, oh, travel, that's something that you can do when you're retired. Totally. That's something that you can, study abroad for a year, which is, those are all good options too. Totally. But I mean, if that is the only thing that you want in your life, I mean, follow that.
Totally.
So I love that. And I want to bring it back to when you first had the idea for this journey, you're like, I'm going to get this car and renovate it, and I'm going to live in it. And like, what kind of thoughts were going through your head? Like, did you have questions? Like, how will I shower? Where will I go to the bathroom? Where will I sleep at night? I'm excited, but I'm nervous. Like, what were you thinking?
You pretty much nailed it. All of the above there. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All of those questions ran through my head, and they still run through my head.
But you've been doing it
right now
since September, right?
Yeah. September. Yeah. So for about, like 6 months already, which is crazy. Yeah. But so I think, when I had gotten this idea, I just became so excited about it. And I think that I just started following a lot of people on social media that were already doing it or had already converted different vehicles to be able to live out of. And then I just started YouTubing a lot of different people that have made the vehicle conversions as well. And so I think it had put in my mind that, okay, these people have done it.
Yeah.
These people are currently doing it, and they're able to work remotely, or they're just like, they found all these ways to just make it happen.
And they're just people.
Totally.
Normal people.
Totally. Yeah.
Like you and me.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah, totally. And some of them were couples, and then other people were single travelers, and then a lot of single girls as well that were doing it. And so I think that coming across those people and watching those things and videos, they just kind of fueled the flame and fueled the fire. And it's like, okay, this is a possibility. This. Yeah. Yeah. And then I did start researching too, like, how do you go to the bathroom on the road? Like,
those are valid questions.
How
things that I think about.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of uncertainty involved, and so like some research definitely went into that. But then I think I can definitely get caught up in the details of things, and then that kind of puts me in a wonky place a little bit. Some people are so good at organizing and organizing all the details of a trip, and I think if I get sucked too much into that, then like the excitement and the vision kind of goes away. And so
I know what you mean.
So a lot of research did go into those questions, and I did find a lot of answers on the internet, but I think at one point I was like, you know what? Okay, I have the information that I have, and I'm just gonna go for it. And I'm still in the US. Like, I'm sure all these states have the same thing that I do at home. And so I just decided to kind of go for it and just let all the details kind of come together that I needed.
Because one of the best ways to learn, just by doing it. You're like, all right, I've verified that, like, people do this. It's, somewhat safe. You gotta be smart about it. And now I'm just gonna go try it out and do it.
Totally.
So I think that's so amazing, and that's why I really wanted to talk to you about all of that. So could you tell me a little bit too, like, from September, where have you been, and how? Because we're in Texas now, so you're from Seattle. So how did you get here?
Yeah, so it's so funny because I had this big original plan that I was gonna do. It's funny how
life works.
Life never seems to pan out how you once planned it, but
that's the beauty of life, though, right?
That's the beauty of life. Yeah. So I started in Seattle, and then I knew that I wanted to go to like as many kind of national parks as I could, and just kind of be in nature as much as I could. And so I knew that I wanted to go to Yosemite. So just came through Oregon and Northern California. And then, and so I'd stayed with some friends along the way, but the big main first stop was in Yosemite.
Okay.
And just absolutely fell in love with that. And and I think since that was my first big stop, I was like, okay, here we go.
This is my favorite. Yeah. So what is it like? What did your days look like when you were there?
Yeah.
Like, you would park at that. Where would you park? Just tell me all of it.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Totally. Yeah. So to start out in Oregon and then in Redding, North California, I was able to stay with some friends, and they were like, I have a couch. You don't have to stay in your car. It's like, okay, I'll take you up on that. And so that was great to be able to be with them. But yeah, so getting to Yosemite, I didn't even really know how to get into the park. Google Maps was just leading me to this entrance. It's like, okay, and it's got to be around here somewhere. And pretty large state park. I can't miss it. Yeah. So I pulled into this little town, and that was just outside of the park, and then went to the information center, and they were like, yeah, you can't really get inside the park now, but you can stay here for a night and then drive in. And so I was like, okay, great. And so I got a parking spot and then a camping spot there, and that was going to be my first night that I was going to sleep in the back of Dwight and be alone at this campground. And then it was so funny because I ended up meeting this Belgian couple were doing a world bike tour, like
that's exciting.
On their bicycle.
No big deal.
Yeah,
bike tour.
Yeah, it's cool, casual. And they
every day.
Yeah. Don't you bike from city to city all the time?
All the time, totally.
So the day that I met them, they had just gotten done biking from making their way from San Francisco to Yosemite. And so ended up making friends with them, and we both went into the park the next day. And yeah, so we ended up getting a campground at Yosemite, but we had to get it kind of up in the hills because all the ones in the valley were taken. And so yeah, our days kind of looked like I would camp in Dwight. They had their tent. It's like, okay, good night. And then
neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
See you at the campfire in the morning.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much.
Yeah. So you weren't alone, and you made friends right away.
Yeah, which was wonderful. I think that was a good transition into the whole car camping life, because, especially in being in the woods, it was nice to have some friends. Yeah, so pretty much had my sleeping bag, my 0-degree bag that my dad gave me, and then a comforter and
prepared.
Cozy. Exactly.
Back of the car.
Yeah.
It's real cozy in there. We'll definitely post some pictures.
Yeah.
It's real cozy.
It is. Trying to make it as homey as possible back there, but
it is your home.
Right, it is.
You
yes.
take it with you everywhere.
Home on wheels. Yes.
Yeah. That's so. I'm just painting this picture in my mind of like your life in Yosemite, and from Yosemite, where did you go after that? Like, give me some of the highlights of your trip.
Yeah,
since now
for sure. So from Yosemite, went to San Francisco.
Where did you park in San Francisco?
So I was actually able to stay with a friend there as well.
Okay, because I'm like, cars and RVs and hills and
totally
stick shifts, you know?
Yeah, exactly. yeah, that'd be very frightening. So I mean, I say I've been in Dwight for 6 months, but I haven't been staying in Dwight the entire time.
You've made friends, have friends,
which has been wonderful, because that was my goal of the trip too. I think was to see as many places as I could, and then to just meet as many people as I could.
You're building your network, so like the next time you go out on a trip, you're gonna have that many more people to visit.
Totally, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's so Anyway, I'll keep going with the route.
Yes,
so
the route.
San Francisco, and then worked my way down to LA, and then and really my goal, I had just so many people down there that I wanted to meet, that I'd made friends with this one friend about 2 years ago. I met him in Seattle, and then through him and his social media, I just kind of been able to find this other group, this whole group of people that are all kind of based out of the Venice Beach, LA area. And they're just all like either videographers or photographers, and just working with nonprofits and just working on all these very inspiring projects. And so my goal there was to, I think I've told you before, like, been following them for a year or more, and it's like, okay, you don't know me, but I know you guys, and we're gonna be friends.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of fun to be like, hey, I've been following you for a while. Like, I just hit the road in my car. I'm on this adventure, and I feel like you're kind of at that level where you're doing something really cool and they're doing something really cool. So it just makes it much easier to make that connection.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I hope so.
Really, they're just like, who's this girl?
Yeah, exactly. And I just,
it doesn't matter.
Love them all so much. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm your guys' biggest fan. Can we connect and be friends?
Like, of course.
But honestly, that was a big part of this trip too, was I don't know, I heard this one quote from these girls that run this podcast called Authenticity, and they said this one thing, and it's just stuck with me ever since. And they said, I don't necessarily know what I want to do, but I know the person that I want to be. And that just has, totally resonates.
Oh, that's
right?
so good.
Oh my gosh. Ever since hearing that. And so literally my goal on this trip was to just meet these people that I've just been so inspired by and want to be like and want to be around. And so LA was just supposed to be another stop. But I just loved being around these people so much and was just continually inspired by them kind of living out their passions as well and their vision. And they were making it happen. And
it sounds like a great education to me.
Totally. Yeah. So that was just supposed to be a stop. And then I was like, oh man, well, I know I'm going to need to work here pretty soon. Like, it would be so great just to stay and work here in LA. But yeah, I guess continuing with the route since then, I'd bought concert tickets in Salt Lake City, Utah. Because I thought I would be there a lot sooner than I was. So booked it up to Utah for a little bit. And that was great. And then decided to come back to LA to try and get a job. That didn't quite work out. Went to Arizona because both of my brothers are there. And so my parents flew down for Thanksgiving, so we were able to hang out there. And then I had kind of cheated and I flew to Missouri to visit a friend there. So didn't take Dwight, but
it's okay.
He was okay with it for about a week. Yeah. And then finally came back to LA, got a nanny job, a live-in nanny job, which was so wonderful. And allowed me just to kind of still make connections in LA and build some friendships. And then came to Texas to the RV Entrepreneur Summit and met you.
Yay!
And all the wonderful people, found my tribe. And Texas has been where I've stayed.
Yeah, and here you are.
Couple weeks.
In my house right now.
Yeah.
Recording this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's so great. And I love what you said about, the people, because I think that that's so important. I mean, it's the places, you want to see the places, but the people in each place. And I think it just makes those places that much more special.
Totally.
You have someone to share it with.
Yeah.
And also, as a solo traveler, when you can appreciate it by yourself as well, and kind of that balance of time with other people, time by yourself. And I think that's just really cool.
Yeah.
So one thing that I kind of wanted to get into as well is just on this trip, what have been some of your biggest things that you've been thinking about as far as like who you want to be? Like you talked about how you funded this trip with, you probably, did you have savings beforehand?
I did. Yeah. Yep. So I had gotten the idea last January is when it first popped into my head. And then around May, I was like, I think this is going to happen. I want to do this. And then fully committed at that point, and then just worked over the summer as a nanny. And just saved up before going to have some leeway there. But
and so that's great because then you were able to use those skills in LA and just kind of like, I'm going to use this money and then I know when my point is, you knew what you like, how long your runway was for how far you could travel and what you had. And then you worked more and then had a little bit more runway. And then with this whole vision of who you want to be, what does that look like going forward?
Yeah. Ooh, that is a
deep
great
stuff.
Question.
Yeah. Deep stuff.
Deep stuff. We're going there.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is a great question. Oh.
Who is that person that you want to be? What does their life look like? Like, what do they do? How do they feel?
Yeah.
We're just getting like real deep in here now.
Yeah. Well, I think that going on this trip and then going to the RV Entrepreneur Summit, I think really cemented in my gut that I want to just be able to travel full time and be able to work remotely. Just because like you were saying, the travel thing, it's been a theme throughout the last couple of years.
Seeing the theme. I'm seeing it.
And so I think going to the summit and just being around people that share the same mindset and the same passion for travel and kind of love for people and love to see new places just really kind of brought to light that I can do this full time, that this is possible. And people with families who have kids are doing it. It's like, oh my gosh, if families can do this, I can do this. And so, so as far as that whole area of my life and what that looks like, I want to get a van.
Ooh, van life.
Van life. Hashtag van life. And I want to be able to do that full time because being in Dwight has been so wonderful. And even the thought of letting go of Dwight pains my soul. But I think just to be able to have some more room and just to be able to realistically live on the road full time, I think, I want to do van life. And
might be able to be nice to stand up.
It would be so nice to stand up and,
stretch,
sit up straight when I wake up.
We have room
that
for
would
like
be
a porta
cool.
potty.
Yeah, all the oh man.
Living glamorous over here.
Whoa, porta potty. Whoa, Kelsey.
It's like a step up.
That's like
living in luxury.
That is some luxurious things. But no, that's the goal eventually.
Yeah.
So as far as that part of my life, I would, I'm moving in that direction of just being able to have that freedom kind of to go anywhere at any time. And then as far as like kind of internally, the person that I want to be, I know that you and I have been, this week, we've been just so inspired by like the movie The Secret and the Law of Attraction. Jack Canfield.
Jack Canfield.
Oh, Jack. That guy.
Jack Canfield.
He knows his stuff.
That's my bud. He's the best.
He's the best. But I really have just been so inspired over this last week of really just that whole idea of asking for what you want and what do you envision your life to be like. And I think on this trip, meeting these different people that have just been able to, identify their skill and then use that to help other people has just been so inspiring. And so I guess some of my passions are, travel and this unconventional lifestyle. And I think just really living out of your innateness and what gets you stoked and what makes you come alive, whether that's going to school and pursuing something that you want to do or living kind of this unconventional lifestyle. I think it's just been so confirming on this trip that there's just this power that comes from living out of what makes you come alive and what you want to do. And so I think if I can just encourage people to, or just go after and pursue that thing that gets them excited. Yeah. I think that's such a powerful thing. And so, I mean, my personal dream would be to create some sort of a business or like platform that just encourages people to, no matter what kind of opposition comes when they tell people their dream or like that thing, just to take the step and to go for it, because I think it just doors start opening when you just like take that step towards what makes you come alive, and then you get connected with people who share the same mindset and vision. And so as of right now, I think just continuing to pursue what makes me come alive, and then hopefully that could help inspire someone to take their first step, or that whole permission thing of giving yourself permission to go after what you want. I think that's just such a beautiful and empowering thing when you're like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
And by doing that, like, you're also giving other people permission to go after their dreams. So like when I think about, I want to do this thing, I can imagine Jaclyn in my head going,
Aw.
yeah, Kelsey.
Oh my gosh.
I give you permission to treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. And do this thing that you want to do.
Yes.
So I'm here, future motivational speaker right here, living her dreams.
Baby.
So I'm just, I can see your girl on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I it's so cool to meet you like in the midst of this too, because you've done so much already as far as like traveling. And especially because I'm like, I have some of the business stuff down, but the travel aspect of it, of like the solo travel, to me is just like this big question mark. So I'm just like, so many questions, That's why I'm like, the bathrooms and like the sleeping and like, blacking out your windows and like being safe on the road. So these are the things where my mind usually goes.
Totally.
But it's so cool to see where you are now and like see your mind working about where you want to go. And I just can't wait to like kind of follow up with you in a couple of like weeks or months and just see where you're at and just be like taking names and putting down money on a van and like all this stuff. So
thank you.
That's how I see it.
Thank you. Well, I mean, and I think that that's like the thing about seeing other people like before going with Dwight on the road. It's like, okay, these people are doing it. It's possible. Again, just that, I don't know, that's like the most, encouraging thing to like, just, I think, realize that it's possible and then to just, I don't know, go for it.
Yeah. And so I think too, like a lot of people have an idea in their mind of what it means to be brave. But we're all brave in our own ways. Like traveling on your own is so brave. Going and meeting new people and putting yourself out there. Like you don't know what's going to happen, but like that takes bravery and everyone's on their own mission. So with that kind of in mind, what would you say to other people who like they have a dream, but they're they need to be brave and they're afraid, like, how do they lean into that bravery inside of themselves?
Yeah. Oh, man. And it's so funny because even as I'm saying this, I think it's reiterating it in my own mind for me as well. But I remember reading this thing in Brene Brown's book, The Gift of Imperfection. Oh, which is so good.
So good.
We'll
put it in the show notes.
Yeah. But she talked about the whole idea of, and I haven't even finished the book, but it's just been so powerful, the things that I've read already. But she talked about the idea of like wholehearted living, and that in her studies that people who kind of live wholeheartedly, that they, when something is uncomfortable or painful or scary, that instead of like trying to numb that or, run away from it or anything, the whole idea of turning into that uncomfortability, not even really knowing what that looks like, but just turning into that and exploring that. And I think being okay with kind of just the emotion that comes up when you do that, like fear of the unknown, or what will other people think, or how is this even gonna work? But I think turning into that and just taking the first step, like you had said earlier, the quote, like, do it scared.
Yes, in the Business Boutique podcast, Christy Wright says, like, do it scared. Like, be afraid, but like, do it anyways.
Right.
Because you're gonna, whether you do it or you're not, you're gonna be scared either way. So you might as well just do it.
Totally. Yeah. And then, yeah. Like, bringing it to the worst possible case scenario. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I go home.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right.
You were home to start with.
Totally.
So, like, you wouldn't be any different way. They'd take any different place.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think just, choosing to turn into that fear or uncomfortability or anything that may come up, and just choosing to take even that first step, I think, toward your dream and toward what you want to do is just so powerful. And then I think you like gain momentum as you keep the vision of it in front of you. You like gain momentum as you continue to move towards that thing. And then, like, the whole thing of the law of attraction, like, what you think about, like, it'll become... you bring about, exactly. And so you'll be able to... Either people will come into your life, or opportunities, or things like and that will keep propelling you towards that dream. And I think especially when either, like, voices come in your life, or people where it's like, yeah, okay, like, that's a nice dream, you know?
Yeah, but it should stay a dream.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that vision and how it's going to make you feel is the thing that will keep you going. And then you look back and you're like, I did that. Like,
you did it.
Yeah. And I think that's such a just empowering thing. But also, like, the fear will come and go too. Like, there'll be times where it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, should I even be here? Like, there were definitely times where I was like, should I just go home right now? Like, I either feel so lonely or don't know what I'm doing here. But if I would have gone home, like, I wouldn't have gone to
you leaned into that fear.
Right.
And you just kept going.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to drive the other direction, but I'm going to drive forward. And I'm not going to look in the rearview mirror.
Totally.
Unless, you know, like, I have to for driving purposes.
Right, yeah. Safety's cool.
Safety first, everyone. Safety first. We are not saying don't use your mirrors. Yeah. But with the law of attraction too, just in case anyone hasn't seen the movie The Secret or read about the law of attraction, it's life-changing. And I know that I've been a huge fan since I was like 13. And the first night Jaclyn got here, I was like, you want to watch The Secret? And I thought she was texting when I came in to check on her because I was doing some work. And I came in, I thought she was just like, you know, just catching up with friends. And no, she was taking like pages and pages of notes on her phone of just like, oh my gosh, all these different things. And one thing that they talk about in there is like, you don't always have to know how it's gonna happen.
Right.
You just need to focus on, like, this is what I want.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell people this is what I want.
Yeah.
Because you might come across a couple people that are like, oh, you can't do that. You just don't think about those people. Because the person that's, like, sitting next to that person who may not even be in this conversation might turn to you and say, oh, I can make that happen for you.
Totally.
You have no idea. Like, if you don't say it out loud, how are you gonna make it happen? And then you have that accountability.
Totally. That's so good. Yeah. That's so awesome. And I think just the value of, like, okay, so now I'm gonna brag about Kelsey for a sec. So after meeting you at the RV summit, and then you're like, hey, come to my house. I'm like, okay.
Free place to stay?
Oh, it's always nice. It's always a nice perk. But I think just, like, being able to connect with you, like, over things like the law of attraction and just how we have such a similar, like, mindset and like
well, we are both ENFPs.
We are hardcore ENFPs, yes. But I think just coming back to the importance of finding like-minded people who are in your corner and, like, encouraging you to keep your focus on the vision and to encourage you during those times when you're like, should I go home or not? Or like, why am I doing this? I think it's just so valuable. But because Kelsey is she's been my Jedi master this week of like learning how to work remotely. How does one even break into that? Or, virtual assistant, that would allow me to work remotely. And Kelsey's just, she's
like, this resource and this resource. Yes. I found this thing that one time. Here, I'll send it to you.
Exactly. Kelsey, let's just set the record. Kelsey has been my lifesaver / guru / Jedi master this week / ENFP soul sister. So,
well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. No, this has been so much fun. Because then that's what you said, like, finding your tribe. Because, like, we have our group of girls from the RV summit. Shout out to our girls. And it's just so cool to find those people. And that's why it's like, I mean, you've been here at my house now for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Like, I mean, you know, like, sometimes you have, like, people come to stay with you and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, when are they leaving? But like as soon as you got here, I knew I had like an event and I was so afraid. I'm like, please don't leave. Like I have to be gone all day, but like I'll be back. And you were like, well, no, I could just stay for a few days. I'm like, no, well, also like I have this show where I'm performing and like playing my music at like the end of the month. Do you want to stay an extra week and a half? And it's totally fine. So that's one thing. And then we've been getting a lot of stuff done. So, you know, and also just with us, like finding that balance of like, okay, how much do we want to play versus how much we want to work? Because we each have our own agendas and just making sure to be aware of each other. I think it's been a really good learning experience.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I just love you.
Love you too, girl. It's been so much fun. So with all of that, I think we kind of talked about like how this trip has changed you as a person. I think we've kind of touched on that. And what are like some of your key learnings that you would take away from this trip so far?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a really good question. So it was really interesting as well because, and we're just gonna dive deep again.
Hey, go for
quick.
It. Diving in.
We're diving in.
Diving in.
But so right before I left for the trip in September, I realized, or it kind of been brought to light, that I can struggle with anxiety, and that was, I never even
This was before you moved into a car.
This was before. Right. Yes. Like right before leaving.
No big deal.
No big deal. And I had just never known that would even be, that was even, that I even encountered that. And so that, I mean, to be honest, I'm just right in the middle of still just learning about that and being.
But you're leaning into it.
Coached through that. Totally. Yeah.
I've seen you lean into it. You know, you're working on it.
Thanks. Yeah. And so it's just so interesting how kind of like the physical journey has been taking place in Dwight, like literally driving.
Yes.
And then also just the kind of the internal and emotional kind of journey of this time since September. And so I think with that whole thing, with the kind of, with navigating the anxiety, I think, oh man, I think one thing that has been brought to light is that my whole life I've kind of been looking for permission outside of myself for a lot of things, instead of just kind of answering questions or things internally and from myself. And so I think that's been a big, I've just been able to identify that in the whole process and been able to kind of start the journey in the process of just kind of looking inward and me being the only source of permission for myself instead of looking outside of myself. And I think that literally traveling and doing this, it kind of gives you that sense where it's like, okay, I'm here alone. Like no one else is gonna, except for when you're staying with a friend for 2 weeks. But,
but besides that.
Yeah, but you're like, okay, I need to kind of make ends meet, you know, like what am I gonna do? And it kind of gives you that sense of like, all right, it's just you and you need to, whatever you want to do, you need to make happen.
Yeah, it's kind of empowering too, because it's
totally.
Like, well, you have kind of that permission to be a little bit more experimental with the things that you might want to do and explore that, because you're like, well, I mean, if I don't if I don't want to, splurge on campsites, I could sleep in a Walmart parking lot somewhere.
Totally.
You know, like a lot of people don't really think of that being an option, but it definitely is at some Walmarts.
Totally.
So, I mean, stuff like that where you're like, okay, well, there's all these options that, like, if it, while I have the time to figure out how I'm going to build up that income stream, there are ways that I could live this lifestyle now.
Totally.
A lot of people just say, like, I'll wait. I have so many friends that say, they're like, I want to travel. I'm like, come with me on this trip. And they're like, I can't. I can't do it.
Totally. Yeah. I think, that whole idea of waiting for things to be perfect before taking action, it's just, it takes away from the beauty of the journey of just kind of going and not knowing or like,
and I struggle with that so much.
Oh, absolutely. No, same.
Like, can you help me pick a capsule wardrobe for my next adventure so I'm prepared and stylish and warm?
Yes. Which, I mean, is all I mean, that's the fun part of the process, you know?
That's why I want to do it.
Yeah, no, totally, completely. But like even the thing with the anxiety thing before heading out, it's like, okay, this is extremely new.
Extremely.
But I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, and you just leaned into that.
Right.
And I love that. I feel like that theme is coming up a lot about like leaning into your fears. And you're like, oh, man, I might be anxious about this, but I already know that.
Right.
So I'm gonna be anxious either way.
Right.
So I'm just gonna do it.
Totally. And, yeah, for sure. And then through that whole process, I think the biggest thing that I've been learning is just like knowing what my needs are and the whole thing about self-care and just learning what that really means and what that really looks like, whether it's emotional, you know, and just like, okay, I need to stop and do this and this to make sure I'm good. Or if it's physical, like, oh my gosh, like I've been living off of like bread and peanut butter and I should probably go take a Zumba class and like go work out, you know, or something.
And again, it's like you're by yourself. You're like, these are things that I have to do.
Yep.
No one's going to tell me to do them.
Yep. Totally.
So that's, that's just really fascinating.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just like how to enjoy and just like have fun on the trip. Cause that's, I mean, like connection and like having fun. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And also being able to have fun by yourself.
Totally.
Because that's something that I mean, I took myself out to lunch the other day and I'm like,
yeah,
I can't remember the last time I went to lunch by myself.
Yeah.
And I was a little, honestly.
Take yourself on a date.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous. I was just like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom and I have a beverage. So I almost thought about just like leaving. I'm like, I have to pee, but I like maybe I just shouldn't because I had a drink. Like and then it's like I went in the bathroom, I put the drink on the sink, and I just went and went to the bathroom. It was fine, but like my mind was just like, do you really need to pee that bad? And it was like, yes, I do. Yeah. Why am I having this conversation with myself instead of enjoying my chicken strips? You know, like, right. But like half the time I was there, I was thinking about this scenario.
Totally.
And it's just because it's new for me.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. But that is such a big thing. Yeah. Like how to just, I guess enjoy your own company.
Yeah. Enjoy it. Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be by myself.
Right.
You know? And so just being able to be by yourself and just like, because, you know, like be like, I'm a cool person.
Totally.
People want to hang out with me. I should want to hang out with myself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that part of it.
I think that's another huge thing that I've been like wanting to learn and then just doing my best to learn kind of throughout this process is like that whole concept of loving yourself. Yeah. And like, I mean, yeah, like in all of yourself, like, you know, whether it's things that you like about yourself or things that you want to, you know, work on. Like, I think that's so powerful. Or for me, things that I can get frustrated about myself. It's so hard to be like give yourself some self-love. Or I think I remember when I first met you and you had talked about kind of writing a letter to your younger self and like how would you like, because you would treat a stranger like you would give them you just show them all the kindness in the world, but showing like yourself kindness. And I remember when you had said that the first time I met you, I was like, dang, this girl's awesome. We need to be friends.
Yeah.
But I just think that
thank you. I appreciate that. That is a theme of my upcoming song, Broken.
Yes.
And I'm very excited that that's going to be coming out this summer. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that really resonated with you, because it really did with me. Because, I mean, you think back on yourself, and if you look at a picture of yourself, like, if this wasn't me, I would look at this person differently. But you know, sometimes you're like, oh, that's just me. I don't need this. I don't need that. But if it was something else, like, you know, like you're here staying with us, I'm always like, well, I need to make sure that like I don't, because I forget to feed myself. So I want to make sure I don't forget to feed Jaclyn.
Right.
I make sure she like eats. Yeah. So like I'm trying to be more aware. Like if she starts like looking for some chips or something to snack on, she's probably hungry and I should feed her. which means that I'm probably hungry and I should feed myself. So it's been kind of a good lesson in that as well.
Right.
Because I just forget, it's me. Like, I can go without it. I'm working on something else. But it's like, no, like, Kelsey's hungry. She needs food.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Ooh, what a good metaphor. Like, feeding yourself physically and, mentally and internally.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think of the literal meaning of that. Like, you need to actually feed yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Because, like, feed your soul, but, like, also feed, like, your stomach.
Yeah, come on, man.
Feed your body.
Yeah.
We could go off on so many tangents with this, but I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah, ready.
Questions? Okay. All right. So, okay. One thing that makes you happy.
Netflix binges.
Oh, good. One thing that you're grateful for.
Ooh, I would say my parents and the community of people that just like encourage me to go for the dreams.
Go for the dreams. Yeah. Good answer. All right. Your favorite place you've ever been to?
Oh my gosh. That's so hard. Okay. I just really loved Venice, Italy. When I went there, I was like, I know a lot of people think this is really touristy and a tourist trap, but I was like, nothing is going to ruin the magic of this time. And it was just
good. Good for you.
Dream come true.
Favorite book?
Ooh, right now I'm really loving The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's bomb.
Good book.
Bomb.com.
Favorite Disney song?
Okay, I think the Moana, her theme song that she sings. Been digging it lately.
I Am Moana?
It's the one where she's like, there's no telling how far I'll go.
How far I'll go, yes.
Yes. That's
and then I think there's like a part in there that's like, I am Moana.
Yeah.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, girl. And then 2 podcasts that you're listening to right now.
Ooh, I've been listening to, let's see, I have it right here. It's the Sounds Good podcast by Brandon Harvey. It's just, been amazing. And then, this is like guilty pleasure podcast, but it's the Almost Famous podcast by Ben and Ashley, which is all about the show The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And it's horrible.
No
but,
judgment.
When you're alone on the road,
you need to have some kind of reality TV to
something.
keep you company.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then something that you do for fun.
Ooh, I like to hike. And be outdoors.
That's fitting to your lifestyle. And then something on your bucket list.
Ooh, to go to the hot air balloon festival in Myanmar.
Oh, in Myanmar. I've never heard of that one. I was like thinking New Mexico.
Dude, that one too. Like, that looks epic.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, well, good job on the rapid fire questions.
Thank you.
And final question for you. So what is your parting piece of advice for listeners about leaning into their fears and, finding their own version of bravery?
Totally. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's so good because how you were saying, bravery could look like anything in any area of your life. Oh man, I think if there is that feeling in your gut or that small voice that keeps, or a thought that keeps coming up of something you should do or something that you want to do, literally just go for it. It's, I mean, the worst that can happen is that it fails and then so what?
Yeah.
But totally. And I think actually on the Sounds Good podcast, I was listening to a girl, I believe her name is Mira on there, and she had said that when you're fearful of something that, I mean, it could either, and you think about doing that thing, it could either, be the worst and it could fail or not turn out anything like you thought it would, but it could also be like the greatest thing and the greatest opportunity and the greatest experience of your life, and even bring about more opportunities and more open doors than you thought possible. So it's like a risk, but I think just turning into that and doing it will be just one of the greatest experiences, and then finding someone who's in your corner and is going to be rooting for you to just keep going through that, I think is just such a powerful thing. So I think that would be it.
Some good advice. I like
Thank
it.
you.
Well,
Jaclyn,
thank you so much for hanging out with me here
Thank
today
you. Oh my
at
gosh,
my house.
Of course.
You're staying here, so I mean, you kind of have to. So.
Yeah. No, this has been the best ever.
But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with Jaclyn. I found her interview and perspective to be so refreshingly honest and inspiring. She has been such a role model for me to push my comfort zones, and I am so incredibly proud of her. And you might notice at the end of the interview that I did not ask the best way to contact her, because since the time of the interview, she's actually changed a lot of things. So after her trip, after she was at our house, she went back to Washington to go back home, and she has been working her butt off to save up to buy a van so she could go full time with a little more space, and she bought a van just a couple of weeks ago. It's not been super long, and I'm so proud of her for everything that she has accomplished already. And not only does she now have a van, which she calls Dwight 2.0, but she also has a new website, new brand, all this stuff. It's called journeywithjac.com, which is journeywithjac.com. And she also has a new Instagram account where you can follow all of her travels and all of her adventures and like renovating her van and all the things that she's planning on doing with her website at journey.with.jac on Instagram. So I hope that you will follow her and check out all of her adventures. I can't wait to see where this kid goes. She's going to do great things. And I really hope you enjoyed the interview. And if you want any links that were provided in the episode, including her new website and her Instagram and all of her favorite books and podcasts, head over to the show notes page at positivelydelighted.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Positively Delighted Show. Be sure to head over to positivelydelighted.com to get the show notes for this episode. If you liked the show so far and you've been learning a lot from the content, I would love if you could go to iTunes or your favorite podcast listening app and leave a review. You would be my favorite person ever. Thank you so much again, and I hope you have a positively delighted day. See you next time.